Somehow, despite having finished last week, we are still getting plot leaks for Doctor Who Season 2 and the potential Season 3 that would have been. Now, I'm aware that may sound mad. Season 2 has been and gone. We've had every single episode. All 8 episodes are out now, not sponsored. So how and what plot leaks are we getting? Well, this original ending, which I have actually made a video on before, but we have confirmation from a cast member about the events that were supposed to go down at the end of the original episode they shot for the reality war. And it's actually a huge change to the canon, which would have riled people up no end. Guaranteed. People would not have been happy with this original ending, so in a way, it's kind of good that it got cut, but also it might come into play in the future. It explains why Susan's here, it explains more about Captain Poppy, that there's a whole load of stuff which we'll look at and break down. But for those of you who aren't in the loop, I'll do a little bit of a recap. Doctor Who Season 2 finished shooting in around May of 2024, so over a year ago now. They entirely wrapped production. They'd finished shooting the reality war, in which the ending was vastly different.
Got a little bit scrambled.
It was only a 45-minute episode of TV at that point as well. It wasn't this big hour-long goodbye special to the 15th Doctor Ncuti Gatwa. The main thing, which you probably know by now that they reshot, was the regeneration. So all the scenes where Poppy disappears, where units have that bizarre "we're all your children" moment, and the moment with the 13th Doctor, which I do love, I can't lie, I love Jodie's performance in that, it's such a nice moment, but it is a little bit random because all of the end, the final 15 minutes, are basically now confirmed to be reshoots. If you want more detail on all of that, you can go and check out my video where I talk about the original ending, or you can just stick with this one because I'm basically going to tell you that information plus a load more. We did also get this leaked picture from, I think, Germany. It was on Disney Plus in Germany, which is, it's really bizarre that this picture even exists because it's clearly from the original ending, and that there's this big party in Unit HQ, Happy May Day, original ending. But how and why did this end up getting leaked online? Because the official line the BBC have ran with is, "This was always the plan." I mean, Ncuti Gatwa literally opens the behind-the-scenes show on YouTube with the statement, "This was always the plan." Which, no it wasn't. We know they did reshoots in February at Belinda's house, on the unit set and on the TARDIS set. That's been confirmed by Doctor Who Production News, I think that's what he's called, or Doctor Who Set Reports. The guy over on Twitter that does all the Doctor Who set reporting stuff, he confirmed that they used those 3 sets to do reshoots, which does line up with the sets used for this original ending. So yeah, with this picture in mind, let's just give it a read. Let's read what allegedly a leaker has said the original ending is, and then we'll read who confirmed that this original ending from the cast is actually correct. Shortly before Saturday's finale, Scooper Daniel Richman, who allegedly is, in some ways he's supposed to be an accredited source, in others I heard he said that there was supposed to be an 8th Doctor spin-off, which is obviously just false. So the reliability of this man is questionable, but as I say, we've got someone from the cast saying it's true. The original ending of Doctor Who Season 2, before the reshoots, was the Doctor, Ruby, Belinda, etc., all having a big party. Think Amy and Rory's wedding, so like the Series 5 ending, where it's all happy days, big party, everyone's dancing, the Vlinks is a DJ, and then Susan is seen watching them from afar, which would have been the cliffhanger leading into a Season 3. So that's the scoop and inside leak that we had before. But it doesn't stop there, because that Susan cliffhanger wasn't just a cliffhanger of Susan's watching, it was this big lore change, this big lore drop, which would have made people, I think the internet would have either not cared or really cared. I think it would have It would have been a Marmite situation. You either really care and you're fuming, or you don't care and you're not fuming. He's now elaborated on that by revealing that Susan would have appeared in a Five Doctors-esque look, grey trench coat. Now, once again, this could be him putting pieces together, because if you look on the Doctor Who behind the scenes show Unleashed, she is wearing this sort of black grey trench coat Five Doctors-esque thing, and I do think it's probably accurate, because that's not Carol Ann Ford's normal wardrobe, if we're being real, is it? Like, that coat will have been what she was supposed to be wearing in this original scene, in which she would have been standing with Poppy, and then Susan says to Poppy, "Let's go, Mum," and they leave, and then cut to credits. So there you go. This is the original ending, which I'm happy to say I theorised this weeks ago. Space baby, unearthly child. They're the same phrase, just like put through Google Translate and changed up a bit. Space baby being episode 1 of this new era, unearthly child being episode 1 of the show in total. No coincidence there, and yet the original ending here was supposedly to confirm that baby Poppy is the mother of Susan. Now, whether that ties into the whole idea of the Doctor and the Rani being infertile because of whatever happened with the Time Lords, and that explains how Susan came to be, and it would also explain that Susan is actually partially human, which is a big canon change if you're thinking about it, because Poppy is half human, half Time Lord. So, yeah, it depends on who Poppy ends up having a kid with in the future as to how Time Lord or how human they'd be. But I kind of like it because it links the Doctor back to Earth in a way that, like, if Susan was partially human anyway, of course he's going to come back to Earth. Like, that's where his granddaughter came from. But then, how does that loop work? It kind of begs the question of, were we going to eventually see, which I think Russell would do. I mean, he joked about it in an interview years ago, a CGI William Hartnell. But, I mean, the more realistic option is probably getting David Bradley to do it. But having a moment where Poppy is actually given to the First Doctor to look after, explaining within canon where Susan actually came from. But I could absolutely have seen the original Series 3 heading off with Belinda, Ruby and the Doctor as your TARDIS trio, as announced last year. Like, they were set up to be this big trio. They would head off on a quest to find Poppy, to remember her, to see what they can do, while Susan, who may or may not be the boss, I mean, Susan Foreman, boss, you've got all these connections, let's say Susan was the boss, the Doctor and that lot are looking for baby Poppy. You could have a scenario where they finally find Susan and realise that this is all one big time loop and they have to give baby Poppy back to the First Doctor. And maybe that's where Russell was planning to leave his iteration of New Who, if it's this Doctor giving the First Doctor baby Poppy to look after, creating like a big time loop sort of thing. I mean, there's a lot of ideas. We don't know the exact direction it was set to take, but it's certainly interesting. I mean, what's really funny, though, is obviously we know the identity of Susan. We know she's the Doctor's granddaughter. But this would be the 3rd season in a row in which an elderly woman stands and observes the Doctor's adventures from afar without going and saying hello to him. Which, at that point, it's a pattern. It's funny. But how do we know this is anything more than just rumours? Well, Captain Poppy... Yes, that's right, the actor of Captain Poppy has a social media page on TikTok where she posts videos of her kid who plays Captain Poppy, and she was asked in the comments, because she actually posted those 2 leaks, she was asked in the comments here, so was this actually legit if you're posting it? Someone says yep, they say damn, and then Captain Poppy replies double damn, which it's like kind of confirming, but she also can't really confirm it. She's confirming it without breaking an NDA. She's not doing anything wrong here. Someone asks, are there any pictures or snippets from the stuff we didn't see that you could share? A lot of us are disappointed we didn't see the original ending, probably under some form of NDA, but if you can, and she says, I wish I could, hun, but due to an NDA, I can't. So as we all speculated, this original ending is being kept under lock and key. They're pretending it doesn't exist, but we know it does. I feel like, you know, the Master in The End of Time when he's like, it's real, except I'm not going to sort of become a weird CGI skeleton thing, hopefully. But yeah, let me know in the comments your thoughts on this, because that is, I don't know, I'd have been really intrigued by this original ending, and it's a shame that we'll never really have that plot thread carried on. I mean, the fact that Susan was going to be the child of Poppy is kind of wild. That's a big canon rewrite, and people are probably going to be quite angry at that. Let me know in the comments what you think of it. But it's such a shame we're not going to see 15, Belinda and Ruby go on this quest to find Poppy, and I really hope Susan comes back in the future. Like, surely you can't have just had her there for the Interstellar Song Contest and that's it. Like, she's got a much bigger role to play, or at least she did have a much bigger role to play, and hopefully will do in the future. It's intriguing. I'm intrigued by the original ending. I wish we could have seen it. I wish they'd do like a behind the scenes like release of it. I don't get why they're so secretive. We all know TV production changes, things change around, and there's no shame in that. It doesn't make it a better or worse production. It just means it had natural production troubles, which every production ever has. Like, it's cool. Like back when they did the New Earth audio commentary, and they're happy to talk about the fact that, like, oh, on one of the days, a bunch of like the takes just didn't record. The camera messed up. It said it was recording, but you couldn't watch them back. It just didn't work. And it's sort of like, well, if you're admitting that back then, just admit to the production faults now. But I don't know, who am I to say? Maybe there's bigger reasons at play. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope you did enjoy this video, as ever. If you did, please do feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share. You know the drill. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.